Welcome to my high voltage hustle.
Oh my god, 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 oh my god.
You'll see me bid on my parts car. Woohoo! And you'll see this gorgeous mini truck come alive. Well, before you start tearing it apart, stop. I'm Bailey. I'm an educator, builder, and DIYer. And in this series, you'll join me as I rip apart a Nissan Leaf and install its electric powertrain into a '79 Datsun mini truck. I've wired a lot of powertrains, but this will be my first EV swap from start to finish. Come watch me learn as I go and laugh at my mistakes. So plug in, grab some popcorn, and join the hustle. This cable carries around 150 to 170 amps of continuous current in a 400 volt system. That's enough for about 60 to 68 kilowatts of continuous power. But what does that really mean for how an EV runs? And more importantly, how does it really affect the decisions that I make during the build? Let's find out. I'm Bailey. I am the builder of the '79 Datsun pickup truck that I'm converting to electric with a Nissan Leaf powertrain. Today, I'm going to show you how the two basic equations of Watt's law and Ohm's law are really the secret sauce to a clean, safe, high-performing electric vehicle swap. So whether you're building your own EV, modding a project car, or really just trying to understand what powers like a Tesla, in this real-world shop floor explanation, we're going to connect theory to the practical knowledge that you can use right after this video is over. Let's start with the basics. Voltage is like electrical pressure, think like water behind the dam, whereas current is the flow of electricity, like kinetic energy. The floodwaters are open in the dam, and then resistance is what really slows that flow down. Is it a trickle out of the dam, or is it a running, huge flood? And we think of watt is V equals I times R. Voltage equals amperage times resistance. Watt's law, on the other hand, is where the real muscle comes in to help us understand how much power your vehicle has, because power is equal to voltage times current. And funny, actually, I think engineers and physicists write it as P equals I times E, and it looks like a pi, P-I-E. And the reason that they do that is because I for current is related to intensity, which makes sense if you think about that water behind the dam. It's the intensity of the energy. That is what amperage is. But a helpful way to remember Watt's law is a nice, beautiful, delicious slice of pie. Anywho, power equals voltage times current. So let's think of my Leaf battery. So it runs at about 360 volts nominal. So let's say I'm pulling 225 amps. That's 360 volts times 225 amps equals 81,000 watts or 81 kilowatts. So those of us who are more into horsepower, that's about 109 horsepower just from electricity. So under like the peak load of that system, it can really push even more, like 250 amps, briefly hitting about 90 kilowatts or 120 horsepower. But these are helpful for us to understand when we're sourcing the motor that we want, and we want to make sure that it matches the horsepower from when the vehicle was still gas. So it's also helpful when you're planning how much acceleration or load that your electric vehicle swap can handle. Watt's law is really the math that you care about. And it's pretty simple multiplication. So even those of us who didn't love doing math in school, it's not too hard. So remember, get yourself a piece of the pie. Another important reason why we want to understand the relationship between voltage, current, and resistance is we know that we're working with high voltage systems. And the reason that engineers have designed it that way is because current kills. So if current and voltage are directly related to each other, it's inversely related to each other if you're a math whiz out there. If we can have higher voltage, we can have smaller current, and current is what harms us. So that's why it makes sense to have less heat, less current if we just use high voltage systems. And when we think about our safety, since current is what harms us, if we can increase the resistance of our body using appropriate PPE, then we can decrease our exposure to current, because the more resistance you have, the less current that you have, or the more current you have, the less resistance your body has. And I see a lot of builders who don't understand these laws, and they get these three things wrong. First, using undersized wires. If your wire gauge is too small for the current you're drawing, then resistance is going to go up. So according to Ohm's law, V equals current times resistance. That resistance creates voltage drop and heat. And that means less power is going to reach your motor and more energy is going to be wasted as heat. So that can melt your insulation, trigger thermal faults, start a fire. It's really not just inefficient, it's actually dangerous. So make sure that you're using the correct gauge, wire, or cable for the job. Mistake number one. Mistake number two is forgetting voltage drop over long runs. If you have ever worked at a construction site or seen any electrical plans, you'll see that they do calculations, but they also put lengths to those calculations, because the longer the run, the more likely that you are going to lose some of that current, because that length can create resistance. So even if your wires seem heavy duty, long distances between components, like a really far distance from the inverter to the battery, for example, can add resistance. So the longer the wire, the more voltage you lose along the way, and that drop reduces the voltage available at the load, like a motor or a pump, which can lead to sluggish performance, or it can really just be an underpowered system at that point. So especially under like acceleration, when you're demanding that power pull at that time immediately. So you might think you're sending 360 volts as you press the accelerator, but your motor's maybe only seeing 345 because it has such a long distance to travel. And the third common mistake that I see new builders make is really making sure that you understand the power rating of your motor. So don't ignore the power rating of your motor and your motor controller. The first thing that I always recommend is that you actually pick out the motor that you want for your EV swap and understand all the specs of that motor. What is the max continuous current? What is max absolute peak current? And then pick a controller that can meet the demands of that motor. Because you don't want a controller that can't handle the power of your motor and therefore your controller overheats or fries. But you also don't want to underperform and get an expensive controller / inverter that isn't, even using its full capability. So don't ignore the spec sheet of your motor, as well as your inverter. And then of course, make sure that you're building a pack or buying a pack that meets the demands of your motor. So always say, start with the motor, get the controller that adheres to the specs of the motor, and then make sure that your battery meets those demands as well. So common mistake I see there as well. So many as wills. But why does any of this really matter? Why do you even care about these old dead guys and their equations? Well, the big reason is, remember, current kills. And high current can also mean really high heat, and you have to manage, it's really thermal management. This smaller cable here, this is highly insulated, so even though it is a small wire gauge, it is insulated enough that it can handle really high current. And if we don't think about thicker insulation or plan our systems to be able to handle that heat of high current, that can mean problems like blown fuses, melted connectors, fires, dare I even say it, but you can move with the same amount of power with less current if you can run at a higher voltage. So that's why electric vehicles, small ones, will see 100 volt nominal. Normal sedans, we're seeing at about 400 volt nominal. And then our performance vehicles are getting up, and commercial vehicles are getting up into 800 voltage, because the higher the voltage, the more we can control current and control thermal management and control heat. So EVs like mine with 300 plus volts can handle keeping that current down. So it's not just about going fast, it's about doing it safely and making sure that you're not losing any of that current is being shed off as heat, because that would be a waste of power and performance. Now, this was just an overview of Watt's law and Ohm's law, but to summarize, Ohm's law is really great for sizing your wires, understanding heat, picking out your PPE, but we haven't even gotten into understanding service, diagnostics, and repair with Ohm's law. Like, it helps you predict the resistance that you're gonna see when you're troubleshooting with a multimeter. It's gonna help you understand how to read voltage drop and oscilloscope use. So it's really helpful to get in there and understand that relationship of current, voltage, and resistance. And then Watt's law is also really great for understanding how much power your system is going to push through and making sure that you're not overpaying for more expensive components than what you need for the power of your motor in kilowatts. Now that you have a good understanding of Watt's law and Ohm's law, your final video of 2025 from me is going to be all about my first disconnection of the battery and dropping the battery out of that Nissan Leaf. So please tune in to my next episode as we dive into what do I do to prepare myself to drop the high voltage battery out of a vehicle. See you then. Do you like my content? Let me know. Like, subscribe, like, tell a friend. I have been just so excited by the number of people who have been leaving comments and the positive feedback that I've been getting. So please, like, spread the word. I'm really excited about what I'm doing, and I really appreciate all of you that have been joining me on these episode drops so far. So thank you so much. Thankful for you this Thanksgiving season.